Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. My name is Dwayne, and I appreciate you stopping by my channel today. I have to share with you today a tutorial demonstrating how I made this beautiful spring ladybug wreath. This one is made with beautiful ribbons, florals and greenery, a tin ladybug, and a wooden mushroom plaque from the spring department at Hobby Lobby. I simply love this one, and I hope you do as well. Welcome to my channel today, and if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing, and as well, give this video a thumbs up, and share this video and leave me your comments. I love receiving them. Okay, let me show you how I made this beautiful ladybug wreath. I have here a wreath form from the Dollar Tree. I believe this one is 14 inches. And this is my first time using this wreath form. And I thought I would look really pretty with this ladybug themed wreath. I have here this beautiful and very, very cute mushroom wood plaque from the spring department at Hobby Lobby. This one was 40% off, as all items are in the spring department at Hobby Lobby. And I just love this one, and I thought it would go especially beautifully with this ladybug, this tin ladybug. It's actually a garden stake, so I had to take off the stick, but I wanted to use it on the wreath. I thought it would look really beautiful on the wreath. So I'm going to be using an assortment of florals. Primarily, I'm going to be using different types of greenery. I'm actually using 5 different types of greenery. Now, I am going to use some of these little red flowers. Not sure what a variety of flower it is, but they're very, very beautiful. They were from Michael's. I purchased those a year or so ago. They might still have something like that. And the white flower that you saw there is my favorite flower from Hobby Lobby. And I get my florals and greenery from Hobby Lobby every other week. They're 40% off. I have here some, I know this is some type of ivy, a Swedish ivy maybe, but anyway, I have several stems of that ivy that I'm going to be placing on that wreath form. And then I have here my favorite greenery that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. And this is another one of my favorite greeneries. Again, everything is always in the floral department, 40% off every other week. And this is another one of my favorite greeneries. It has kind of a trailing stem, so it makes it easy to wrap it around a wreath form. And then this is another greenery that I love from Hobby Lobby. It has varied shades of green in it. That's why I especially love it. And so I have that collection of florals and greenery that's going to go on this ladybug wreath. And of course, I have ribbons. And this one is from the spring shop. 40% off, a ladybug wreath from Hobby Lobby. Now, this ribbon I had gotten at some point in time on craftoutlet.com. I have seen it on there recently. They still have it. They also have ladybug ribbons, several different types on craftoutlet.com. These particular ribbons are ladybug ribbons. Obviously, you can see that. And those are from Amazon. They also have a number of different types of ladybug ribbons. And these are a collection of different little resin flowers, but most importantly, there's also ladybugs in that container, as well as little bumblebees. And I'm going to use both of those on my ladybug wreath. I have here a stack of zip ties. I usually pick these up at the Dollar Tree. This is how I'm going to be attaching my greenery to my wreath frame. I'm going to be using the regular crafting tools, scissors. I believe I used a little bit of hot glue on this wreath, and also some pipe cleaners to create the rib bows, if I can speak. Oh, goodness. Okay, so here we have our wreath form from the Dollar Tree. Now, this is, as I mentioned, the first time I've used this wreath form, and I think it can create some very, very interesting, very beautiful wreaths. So I decided to give it a try. And so I'm going to be using this for this ladybug wreath. Now I'm going to be attaching all of my greenery with those little zip ties. Now I'm using black to match the black in the wreath frame. And you will need to have some wire cutters on hand. So I'm going to begin shaping my the base of my wreath, where I'm going to be applying my florals and my bows, and I'm deciding now what shape or what design I'm going to utilize for this wreath. And I decided that I was going to create greenery on this wreath form and leave a section of it open on the right side. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a bit. But I'm going to go ahead and just lay down my base greenery. Now I'm using this one first because it has some larger leaves, and those are the ivy leaves. So I just simply take my zip ties and start securing the wires of my greenery right onto that wreath frame. Now, this is a great technique to use because it eliminates having to use any type of glue. And this is going to also assure that things won't be falling off your wreath if you have it outdoors in the extreme elements, in particular the heat. Now, you could use pipe cleaners. You could use floral wire. You could use floral tape. It's completely up to you what you choose. I'm using zip ties today, but I have used a floral wire to do this as well on other wreaths. So it doesn't matter, just whatever you can attach your greenery with onto your wreath frame. I'm just going to begin bending this particular greenery stem. It's long. I'm going to bend it around the curvature of that wreath frame. I'm going to be using 5 different types of greenery on this wreath. And I do that because it creates a lot of texture and visual interest on a piece. It also is a method to fill your wreath frame in different ways, meaning some of your smaller greenery with a smaller type of leaf can be used to fill in areas that are still, barren after you put your larger elements on, or your larger pieces of greenery. Now, after I apply my zip ties, the excess that's sticking up there, you could just snip that off. Now I had several pieces of this long ivy type greenery. This is a really good way to fill up space if you're doing a wreath like this. And it also helps to create a nice base, because as you can see there, those ivy leaves are rather large, and they help to create a nice base. Now I have here greenery attached to the top of the wreath and to the bottom. And I ultimately decided that I was going to go ahead and fill in that empty space on the left side there. So I'm going to take my greenery, and it's going to follow the curvature of that wreath frame from around 5 o'clock all the way around to around 1 o'clock, if that makes sense. Look at your wreath as a clock. And so I'm filling that space, and I'm leaving the area around 2 to 4 or 2 to 5 open. And that's where I'm actually going to be placing my ladybug, but I'm not going to be putting hardly any greenery in that space. I want to show off that wreath frame a little bit. So as you go along now, you're going to want to be mindful of those larger elements that you're going to be placing on the wreath. And that would be, in this case, the wood mushroom sign, which is oh so cute, that tin ladybug, and also there's going to be 2 bows on this wreath, one at 6 o'clock and one at 12 o'clock. So you want to be mindful of how those bows are going to sit on your wreath as well. Now, after we fill up a good portion of this wreath frame, I'm going to keep some of my greenery off to the side, because then after I put my bow on, after I put on my mushroom sign, after I put on my ladybug, then I will fill in with that extra greenery. But for now, I'm just creating my base by using different types of greenery that I have to use there, all of which is from Hobby Lobby. And that's that smaller leaf greenery that I was referring to before. That type of greenery is great for filling in spaces, and it also creates a lot of texture on a wreath. So when you select your greenery, think about that. Using different greens, different colors of green, different textures, different sizes of leaves. This is what creates a beautiful wreath. Now, even those smaller pieces that you see me sticking in there, I'm just kind of doing a dry run there to decide how much I'm going to put in there for now. And I do use a zip tie to secure those as well to the wreath frame. Okay, so for the most part now, I have is my bed of greenery, or my base of greenery on my wreath. You can see I left that area open on this side there, but on the left side, I ultimately decided to fill that in with a little bit of greenery. So that greenery is going around a good portion or a majority of that wreath frame. Now, you do you, however you want to do yours. Maybe you want to leave yours open on the left side and the right side. That also would be pretty, because we're putting a bow at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So you could leave that open on this side. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to take this hanger off of this wood sign, although it's a very cute hanger, and it has even has wood beads. So I'll just use that for something else, but that was a very cute hanger on there. So I'm going to prepare this sign to attach to that wreath frame. I'm going to be using, I believe I put 2 pipe cleaners on that sign. And because I want those pipe cleaners to be very secure on that sign on the back, so I can use those pipe cleaners to hold that wood sign on that wreath, I'm going to use some hot glue as well as Aleene's tacky glue, as well as a couple pieces of felt as an additional means to hold on those pipe cleaners. Now I have here, I'm showing you something new that I saw at Crafter's Square at the Dollar Tree. It's a little silicone sheet for placing your hot glue gun. And I used it while I did this wreath. And it worked pretty well because I'm a person who always just, I get so immersed in what I'm doing. And I just keep putting my glue gun down just anywhere because I'm, concentrating on my piece. So this is a nice option. So I think it's like the same kind of material that the silicone makeup applicators are that you can get at the Dollar Tree to use in crafting, and then also the little pink finger protectors. But it's pretty cool. I put it on my table and I really used it. So that was in the Crafter's Square section. Okay, so I'm putting my pipe cleaners on with my felt, using some Aleene's tacky glue as well as hot glue for that immediate hold. I'm going to put that sign off to the side to dry because I want it to be completely dry before I attempt to put that, wire that onto that wreath frame. Now, when I'm working with this particular wreath frame, I'm trying as much as possible to have my materials, such as my pipe cleaners, and, for example, my zip ties, to be the same color as the wreath frame. Now, I snipped off my ladybug from the stake, the garden stake. I ended up cutting it off even a little bit more. That was a little bit difficult, but I managed it. I just used my wire cutters, and I just kept going around the stake and just squeezing and squeezing my wire cutters until I finally just cut through it. Okay, now it's time for a bow, which this piece is going to have two completely fabulous bows. And I love this ribbon for this ladybug wreath. This was a craftoutlet.com ribbon. I think it's just perfect with the reds and the white polka dots. I want this ribbon to be really big and fabulous, so I'm going to make my loops around 11 inches long. I'm going to use my method that I always use to create my bows. I just fold my loops over, pinch it in the center, gather it up, hold it there while I continue to create more loops. This ribbon or this bow is going to have 3 loops on each side. I twist my ribbon so the right side of the ribbon is facing up. I fold it over approximately around 11 inches. Pinch it in the middle using both fingers from both hands to scrunch it up there in the center. Now I'm going to create loop number 2 on the right side. Twist my ribbon, fold it over so the right side is facing up, scrunch it in the middle, and then hold it with my thumb and my index finger. I have multiple bow tutorials in my playlist. If you would like to learn step by step how I create my bows, there are, as I said, numerous bow tutorials that I take it very slow so that you can learn how to create bows like I do. I'm creating this base of the bow. This is going to be the bottom tier. 3 loops on each side. And those loops are around 11 inches, as I mentioned. Now I'm going to take a black pipe cleaner. Again, I try and match my pipe cleaners and my wires and my zip ties to the project. I'm going to match up my tails there on the as I cut them off from the spool. Now my tails are around 11 to 12 inches. I left them long because I wasn't sure how long I would actually want them on that wreath. And there we have the base to our beautiful ladybug bow. Now I have this ribbon from Hobby Lobby. It was in the spring department at 40% off. And this is going to be the second tier of my bow. I'm going to leave a tail around 11 to 12 inches. Now, the loops on this bow are going to be just a little bit smaller because it's going to be resting on that red base bow. So I made these loops around 10 inches. I'm going to twist my ribbon just like I did the other one. Fold that ribbon over, create my loop around 10 inches, pinch it in the center, use both of my fingers on both hands to scrunch that ribbon up there in the center. And then I hold it secure with my index finger and my thumb. And I create another loop at 10 inches. Now, you can measure your loops as you go along if you like, by keeping a ruler on your table or something to measure by, or you can just simply learn to eyeball your loops. That's what I do. And then this is loop number 3 on the left side. And notice how I check the size of my loops as I go along. If it's a little bit too long, I just pull it back. If it's a little bit too short, then I extend the size of the loop. I do that all by eyeballing, but in the beginning, when you're making bows or learning to make bows, you may want to stick with, having some means to measure each of your loops or the length of the ribbon that you're using for each of your loops. Now I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to do a single loop around 9 inches that's just going to rest on the 3 loops on each side. So this is going to be a little bit fuller bow. I really wanted a spectacular bow for this ladybug wreath. So I'm just making this one a little bit fuller. Now I'm doing that single loop, and it's going to rest on the 3 loops on the other side. So there's 3 loops on each side, 1 single loop on each side resting on the 3 loops. And I hope that wasn't too confusing. Again, I do have tutorials, and I actually have tutorials that show how to make mixed ribbon bows or just elaborate bows using a single ribbon. Now I'm going to take my ribbon and just make 1 single loop going right down the center. I often refer to this as the button. So I just fold my ribbon under, catch it with my thumb, as I'm showing you there, scrunch it up, and then I'm going to take a pipe cleaner from around the back, bring it right through the center, and bring that pipe cleaner around the back, and that is going to lock in that center loop. Twist it in the back, and now we have the tails on there, so we can easily wrap those tails around that base bow and join those 2 bows together to make that very pretty ladybug bow. Now I have a tail on the top. So what I'm going to do is twist the ribbon so it's right side up. I'm just going to feed it through that center loop, pull it through, Marry it up with the tails on the bottom. And there you have a beautiful ladybug ribbon bow. However complicated this bow making process may seem at first, I promise you, if you just sit down with some practice ribbon, do it with me on the video. Watch it first, whichever one you choose, then replay the video with some practice ribbon. Do it along with me, and then practice. Just use some ribbon that you're not really fond of, that you have just around in your stash, and just practice. I promise you will be so happy if you learn to make bows like this, because honestly, it's spectacular. I would imagine that I would hope that you think that it is to see a beautiful bow like this. Now, there are other bow making tools out there. There's Bowdabra, there's the Easy Bow Maker, and if you prefer to use those, that's fine as well. You can achieve a bow that looks like this with the Easy Bow Maker or even the Bowdabra, but you have to learn how to use those as well. So one way or another, a bow is a real essential on a beautiful wreath, so it's really worth the effort to learn to make a beautiful one. And look how pretty that's going to be at 6 o'clock on that wreath frame. Now, I do place my sign every now and then. I place my bows up to the wreath every now and then, because as I continue to add things to my wreath, I need to be sure that I'm accommodating those large elements that are going to go on that wreath. And again, as it's there sitting on the table right now, it still has that open space on the left side, but I am going to be filling that in. Now I am making another bow. This bow is going to go at 12 o'clock. And this is going to be a different combination of ribbons. This ribbon is so cute. And it's a very hardy, sturdy ribbon. Very beautiful to work with. And I'm sure that I got this on Amazon. As I recall, they have a lot of different types of ladybug ribbon. So I'm doing 2 loops on each side. Oops, I'm sorry, 3 loops on each side. This is sped up a little bit because I had you watch me do the first one a little more slowly, so I don't want to make you crazy watching me do bows. But I have 3 loops on each side. And that's going to be the base of my bow. Now I'm adding this really cute ladybug ribbon on the gingham check. And I love this because it brings some element of black into the wreath as well, to go with the other touches of black, as well as, of course, the wreath frame is black. Now I'm creating another bow here, but I'm going to do 2 loops on each side this time. And I can't find a pipe cleaner. So I'm just grabbing a white one. And I'm just going to twist it around the back. 2 loops on each side. Now these loops are a little bit smaller. For that first ribbon, the white one with the ladybugs, I think those loops are around 9 to 10 inches in length. And this gingham check ladybug ribbon is around 8 to 8.5 inches in the bow length, or the loop length. So I created a single loop right down the center. I pulled my tail through the loop like I did the other bow that you saw. And these two are going to be paired up and look utterly fabulous together. This is a fabulous combination. I really love this ladybug wreath. Such a beautiful wreath for spring. This one actually I'm going to be posting in my Etsy shop that I just recently reopened. So if you're interested in this wreath, but you're not necessarily interested in creating this wreath, and you would like to purchase it, go to my Etsy shop. My shop name is Craft Central Decor. I will put that in the description box. So I put my two bows together. And again, this one is going to be at 12 o'clock on that wreath. And these bows add so much to this wreath. And that one is fabulous. I love it. Okay, so now I'm addressing my sign. And I see I already attached it. So I reached around the back, and you can see there I found a wire to attach it to. I gave it several twists so it would be nice and sturdy on that wreath frame. Now I could snip off those pipe cleaners on the back, which I did clean up the back once I finished the wreath. Now, those yellow flowers on there are tin, and I decided to kind of raise my flower up to give it that sign a little bit of depth. But I was actually able to do that the way the sign was constructed. And then the little flower, the other little flower on this sign, I was able to lift the petals of the flower up a little bit. Again, that's tin, so it was pretty easy to do that. And then attached to that, those mushrooms, is a little sign that says spring. And I'll show you how I kind of laid that across the ribbon later. But that's very cute. And I also put a bee on that yellow flower. You'll see that later. Okay, so now I want to position that bow on the wreath so as much of the mushrooms is showing as possible. So I'm going to have to strategically do that when I place the bow at 12 and at 6. Okay. So I have added my bows. Oops, not quite yet. I thought I had put it on. I think I did put the one on at 12 o'clock with the pipe cleaners. But just as always, you're just going to take the pipe cleaners on the back of the bow and find that wreath wire underneath, pull it tight, twist those pipe cleaners several times, and attach the bow to the wreath frame. Now I have a collection of greenery that's still left over. I'm going to be filling in some areas. Now, if you have a lot of little pieces like I'm showing you here, even different varieties of greenery, you can mix them up. I take them and collect them up in a bunch. And then I take a little bit of wire, craft wire that I pick up at the Dollar Tree. And so that I'm not having to piece on that wreath all those little pieces of greenery one at a time, I just collect them in a bunch and I just wrap some craft wire around it. And that's just a little tip to make use of your little, pieces that have fallen off of your greenery stems, or just little pieces that you have left over. Or maybe you just want to cluster together some different types of leaves. You could just group them together, and at the base of the stem, just wrap your craft wire around there. And then you can simply attach it to that wire wreath frame with your zip tie. And I'm showing you there. Those zip ties do a really great job. Okay, now you can see on the left side of the mushroom there, I filled in that open area with greenery. and I left open an area on the right side. So I believe I am finally going to put that bow on. And I'm going to place it at 6 o'clock. Now, once I get that bow on the wreath frame, I can try and situate the loops of that bow to avoid covering up the mushroom as much as possible. Now, this is a large, beautiful, fabulous bow, and it does make quite a statement on this piece, but I don't want it to cover up the mushrooms. So I can just arrange my loops around that. Look how beautifully this is coming together. The colors are so magnificent. It just screams spring. Okay, so now I have my tin ladybug, and I was able to feed my pipe cleaners through some little loops that were actually on the back side of that tin ladybug. There were some little metal loops on the back, but if you put some type of ladybug on your wreath, you can always just apply the pipe cleaners and the felt just the way I always apply them on the back of a sign. I was just lucky with that tin ladybug. I was able to feed the pipe cleaners through some little loops that were on the back. Okay, so I attached my ladybug. I want to say my ladybug is sitting at around 2 o'clock, and the head of the ladybug is pointing toward 12 o'clock. So it's a little bit angled on that wreath frame. Now I'm going to go around. There was my dog. I'm going to go around the wreath and place my ladybugs. Now, this part was really fun because I put my ladybugs all over the wreath. I put one on the mushroom. I put one on the flowers. I put a bumblebee on the flowers. And I just had fun placing those little resin ladybugs all over that wreath. Now, as well, you can see I have the little red flowers on there, and I have 3 white flowers. I placed those around the wreath, kind of a dry run to see where I wanted to place everything. And I used Aleene's tacky glue and placed all of my flowers around that wreath. Now, you do you, however many flowers you want, or however few flowers. But I used Aleene's tacky glue. Look at the ladybugs and the bumblebees. But I placed all of my flowers, stuck them in the greenery with Aleene's tacky glue. That way they won't melt in the heat. Look at the ladybug on the flower. Do you see how I use those ladybugs? And they're all over the wreath. I just love this one. And I hope you love it as well. Remember, this one is available on my Etsy shop. If you're not a current subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one so that you can see my tutorials that I post weekly. And give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave me your comments. I love receiving them. And I hope you feel inspired to make a ladybug wreath for yourself. Until next time, you all take care.